Hello, everyone. I'm really excited to be here, Celine and Steven, with YVT Real Estate Group with McDonald Realty. It's day one of tariffs, very topical. It's also early spring, and you can see outside that it looks nothing like spring. So the weather isn't being with the sentiment around the world. But first and foremost, before we get into the impacts of that, quick introductions. Let's start.
Sure thing. So I'm Celine Bacani, and I've been licensed in Vancouver for 13 years now. I do primarily residential and a little bit of commercial real estate.
Love it. My favorite. Perfect.
Steven Lau with the YVT Real Estate Group, licensed for 9 years now. My real passion is for residential real estate. I've done one commercial deal, which is kind of cool, but looking forward to seeing where the spring takes us.
Me too. And commercial is growing on the multifamily side. Lots of government incentive. Let's not forget there's a supply issue in this city, province, and country. So good thing to be exposed to. On the lending side, we do a lot of that. And of course, residential, it's the bread and butter. People always need options there. And we're going to talk about all that stuff. Let's get right into it. Celine, you've seen a few real estate cycles, clearly. And I mean, if I'm a buyer or seller, how should I be looking at this? Hate to call it the 2025 tariff year. What comes up? Literally, we're day one.
I mean, there's a lot of things to consider, but I think the most important thing is to just keep yourself informed. There's so many things that are unknown for buyers and sellers out there, and there's so many things that are out of our control. But if you have a team of advisors and you constantly keep in touch with people who can educate you on what's actually going on, then they can update you in real time on what's going on and how it's affecting our market. That way you can make a better informed decision for your move.
So let's get some specific examples. I'm thinking 2008 and I'm thinking COVID. What from that do you think, everyone had fear at the beginning and then there were, let's call it silver linings. What comes to mind in terms of just like, how you coach your clients there, and let's relate it to, of course, today. How do those relate, and how can we learn from history?
I reference those cycles almost every single time we do an intake, and that's because there is fear at the beginning, and there's so much uncertainty. But I think we have to remember the basics of real estate is to keep in it for the long game. Right. So even though there's a lot of fear and uncertainty in the beginning, it's all about just keeping calm, strategizing a plan, and then following through with the plan with whatever the market is, adapting to market conditions.
Right.
I think, for example, when COVID happened, no one could have predicted when the world shut down that the market was going to pick up in the way it did. Right? Nobody knew. But this is where we saw our industry really mobilize and adapt to buyers and sellers' needs. Was it crazy? Yes. Could we see that again? Maybe. But I think the point is that we do have to lean into the experts and people with experience to be able to mobilize and adapt to these markets.
Any commentary on that, Steven?
Sure, hit it spot on. I realized that there were a lot of uncertainty with that. Clients were worried about completing on stuff. I had one client who actually just gave deposit for a pre-sale, and then they announced the closure of everything. So developer was nice enough to allow an extra time to rescind. Clients rescinded. They kind of regret, but things happen for a reason, and you just move forward. But definitely, like Celine said, lean into the experts and sort of take their advice and have that plan and execute.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess with that too, general plan is, if you're looking for a quick flip, well, legally that's pretty hard now in BC. Also, as you said, long-term things do chalk out. So coming out of COVID, of course, there was amazing appreciation. Now it's stabilized, but net it's higher, right? I think in 2008, was that similar in terms of it went up or down, and then it kind of what was the actual...
So
the rhythm of it.
2008 took some time for us to recover out of it. We did get in if you got in 2008. So here's the thing is that you always will find opportunity when it's mayhem out there. This is why the experience is so important, is because I got into the market in 2008. With a realtor and a broker and that team around me that educated me on this.
Right.
And I experienced really good appreciation in the years to follow. And it's because of that experience that I'm like, hey, this is a cycle and we do need to get through it. And it's just something that, if people keep their pulse on the market, those are the people that you want around you who can help you make a quick decision.
Yeah, I love it. And you guys have a lot of, let's call it, unique experiences and data that other realtors probably don't. And you did allude to being exposed to commercial real estate as well. I mean, specifically, you do own the Lee's Donuts, the famous franchise. Or rather, corporate, you guys franchise?
Yes. So I own the brand, but we do have a franchise division.
Yes, perfect. Good to make the distinction. And so you hear the saying, follow where the latest Starbucks has opened up. Why is that? They have a lot of data on what neighborhoods are growing and up and coming. So you probably have to follow a similar playbook, and without giving away all your dark secrets on how you get data on foot traffic for investors out there. I mean, how is one to analyze a real estate deal, whether it's commercial or residential? And I always think about what are the non-obvious deals that a home buyer should be thinking about in 2025 and beyond?
Yeah.
Crystal ball.
Great question. Crystal ball.
Yeah. What do you guys look at? Just even fundamentals,
I mean, so here's what I will say is that we came up, I think we segmented residential and commercial so differently, but I think as we move through Vancouver, and there's a lot of entrepreneurs here, it's just the norm to have your foot in both and to be connected to both. And so I use the experience for both. Absolutely. I mean, it's no secret. One of my latest openings was Gastown, which was a previous Starbucks.
Yes. No
and that was only as a result of relationships that I built through the industry that we were able to get that, right?
That's a crazy, awesome location.
I love it. but my point being is that, I mean, in commercial, you look at things such as location, you look at developing neighborhoods, you look at neighborhood plans, and especially because affordability is such a challenge for a lot of people in the city, they tend to move outwards. So then the work becomes, what's happening outside of the city? What neighborhoods are developing out here? And where could they probably find appreciation that makes sense for their lifestyle as well?
Right, let's find balance.
I think the tradition was prior to just get something that's in the city, live that downtown lifestyle. And that's not the case anymore, especially with remote work. There's a lot more options for people.
Yeah, well said. Anything you want to add to that?
Nothing really on the commercial side of things, but how she mentioned communities growing with the pandemic, I noticed a lot of people moving outwards rather than inwards. People were working from home, so people were moving out to the valley.
There's a slight rebound there. A lot of Amazon clients of ours, they're now there's mandates to work back in the office, but net, I'm sure it's more flex.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you had some clients who went to live in Victoria or the island, and they're like, oh. So there's a bit of a recoil from that. But in general, I think there's some flex arrangements. Net, you can live a bit more out there. But as you said, there's sort of this weird flux where downtown is, I think there's a lot of supply.
There is a lot of supply for downtown.
Bigger cities change value sets.
That's it.
Outdoor more, right? So
exactly.
Interesting trends there.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, I mean, at the crux of it all is that we are, Vancouver is always going to be desirable. People will have their opinions on it and how it shifts and trends and everything like that on the worldwide stage. But at the end of the day, we're a landlocked province. I was going to city. We're a landlocked province. And so we're really limited with space. And so if you follow the cycles of real estate, it will gain in the end, So it's really leaning into that for buyers that are kind of on the fence, is that you'll always need a place to live. You'll always need, to pay either rent or a mortgage. And with Vancouver being the coastal province that it is, we're always going to be a desirable place, right? So it's always going to be a good investment.
I mean, it's just so unique, right?
Yeah.
It really is. You travel somewhere and you come back. I appreciate Vancouver more. How often have you heard of that, right?
Every time I come back on the plane, that fresh air, and then I drive home and I'm like, oh my God, there's the city and the water and the mountains, and it's all like a postcard, and that's, Yeah,
and cat's out of the bag. People have known about this since Expo and beyond, but I think as there's more instability in other places, even starting from a climate perspective, some places are too hot. Imagine having the problem of it's too hot to be somewhere. Isn't that what? What do you mean? Sunshine's good, right? So now places are too hot. There's a lot of instability and just, I'm talking from a climate perspective, not even politically or anything else, right? So, we're not perfect, but we're pretty, us being bland or normal is actually an amazing thing. when there's other instability. That's where I think there'll be a lot more people who know what's up. I mean, they'll keep coming here.
It's always a trade-off.
Yep.
Always a trade-off.
Yeah, but I think people's growing values around, nature and what we're all about. It'd be kind of crazy not to eventually come to terms with that, right? So I think people are seeing that. Again, international or even people locally would want to stay if they can make it work. Gentrifying areas, by the way, we've got St. Paul's opening up recently.
Yeah.
You'd think there'd be more action there. Olympic Village, 15 years ago, much different than it is right now. On that note, any sort of geographies or neighborhoods that you see are gentrifying or up and coming? Is it just like the east side? Do you see Nanaimo, Kamloops? Is it just open? What areas do you guys see have some tailwind behind them?
Anything on your end?
Not really,
I've seen a couple clients. I've had a couple clients move out to Bowen Island for that island life and that affordability.
Yeah.
So a lot of them are, trading in their properties here and pretty much being mortgage free on Bowen. I think that's a really cool move. If nature really is, that community is really your thing.
Sunshine Coast too.
Exactly. Yeah. In terms of here in the city, I'm a fan of the Strathcona neighborhood and kind of Hastings Sunrise and seeing what's going on there. And then obviously with my store, I got a huge love for Gastown.
Right.
We're going through it right now. But I will always advocate for them because I see what people are trying to do, and it's a really, what's the word? There's a lot to it. It's very layered.
Right.
But you need
problems is
homelessness,
a big one. What else?
The unhoused for sure, drug and mental health support severely lacking in that neighborhood. But just knowing all the business owners, there is such a neighborhood feel there, and there is a lot of hope. And without hope, then you're squashed, right? Yeah. But I think people are really trying to figure out how do we make this the great neighborhood that it once was.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, Mark Brand is Talk About Restaurant Church. He's well known for what he's done there.
Huge fan of him,
right? So he's got a lot of big social cause as well. Kurt Mayer, Ken Sim was meeting with a lot of the Woodwards folks actually, and trying to figure out how their strata and their people can start to make a change. So community is actually an important part, and that's from like a brand perspective of business. We want to do this, but also if you're buying a property, you want to make sure that the actual neighborhood and the community has a bit of that mentality, whether it's Gastown or anywhere else, right? I think that's probably a key thing you guys, think about as well in terms of like a soft metric beyond just the numbers. And in terms of soft metrics, you've got families that are buying places together, right? So Stephen, question for you is, you've got the families that are upsizing, downsizing, and they're all making their joint decisions. And sometimes that's more cultural than others. But regardless, joint decision, I think a lot of what makes a good realtor is you're like a great mediator and you're making a decision for them, just like a mortgage broker. You're guiding them towards a decision where you narrow down the options.
Yes.
You make them remember what's important for them and what's happening, of course, trends and data points. And then they make a decision. Sometimes family members can stall a purchase, whether it's because something that's very much in their heads. It could be, analysis paralysis, other things. Talk about how have you steered family members to, either delay a decision because it's in their best interest, or maybe act a little sooner. And I guess sometimes when there isn't consensus, there's going to be let's just call it a potential wrong decision. Maybe they miss the boat, property goes up in price, or they just actually impulse buy something that maybe isn't in their best interest. Dig into all the times you've been mediating and guiding people to make ideally the best decision. What's your general approach so that everyone comes out happy and it's like a sound decision financially and of course, subjectively, let's say?
Well, generally, I like to really empower our clients. That's the main thing we like to do is giving them the right tools, the right data, whether it be the neighborhood, recent sales and whatnot pertaining to that particular home. But I like to really have that early conversation. If it's a husband and wife, for example, they're going to have different wants and needs, making sure they have lists that really prioritize what's important.
Yep.
I've had clients say they want something that's move-in ready, whereas the other person doesn't want to put that sweat equity in. Right. So it's that fine balance because you're looking at big jumps in pricing.
Yeah.
But holistically, when it comes to making that decision, you want to really, like I said before, really drive home the empowerment for your clients, knowing that they're making the decision. We're here to provide the right tools. Data is always the best thing to use when it comes to making sure they make the right move when it comes to either selling first to make that purchase, because numbers never lie. It's going to be what's out there is what people are willing to pay. Their neighborhood might have sold for 1,000, 100,000 more, but this year the market shifted the way it has, and always giving them the tools to work around that. Some risk as well, saying that if things don't move as quick as they should, that they could lose out and miss out on the boat, like you did mention, in regards to opportunities out there. Because the way the market is now is it's a bit more balanced, I would say. Certain segments are seeing more of a seller's side, but that's really, if it's a good product, that's priced really well. But when it comes down to it, we can't sign that offer for them. So Celine and I are here to guide our clients, provide as much support and feedback when it comes to neighborhoods, when it comes to developments, different complexes. It's very specific, especially if you're looking for something that's stratified, for example. We've toured different parts of Greater Vancouver, so we know different things about different developments that they may not see on the surface level. So for us to give that insight provides them more knowledge and more tools to really be informed and be like, okay, well, they're giving us the power to do this. Ultimately, I feel like the empowerment is what really drives that trust. We're not here to sort of make the decision for them and kind of force them into making something that could be the worst decision of their life. It's like, it's a huge decision. Like besides, committing to a partner or something like that. It's
well,
huge.
You're committing to a house.
Exactly. It's huge. Yeah. Exactly.
Layer of mess or it's pivotal. And so you touched on it a little bit. What is the mental checklist someone should have when vetting the right realtor for them? And I mean, you can feel free to highlight what you think sometimes is a blind spot. Maybe realtors that are a little bit too pushy, that do certain things. Like it's pretty hard for you to know where the bar is at. Like you're a buyer, even if you're not a first-time buyer. But what is the right thing? And there's a bit of an energy thing, but it's also like, what are the flags that are good or bad where they've got my best interest at heart, and or they're just a fit for me? Like I don't know if there's like a mental checklist people should have, right? Like what do your clients most love about you? You can brag a little bit here. You guys are pretty established.
Well, I think we do have to establish that rapport. And, we always do this with a first sit-down meeting and what we call like the vibe check, basically. I mean, I think that runs across a lot of industries, not just real estate. But I think it really is important to be able to build a rapport with not only the decision maker, but we do deal with a lot of families. And when we have to have these tough conversations, it becomes, they have to trust us with reminding them what the goal was. Right? And we have to remind them what the goal is and support it with data. And then that's where the empowerment piece comes in. So when we go back to mental checklist, it's finding a realtor that's experienced. I think experience is key in a market like this one. Who's been around a couple cycles. I think that's super key. I think you need a realtor that is active. That's not just doing this, on the side, or it's just like, this is like my side hustle, because you do need someone who watches the market every single day to be able to give you the correct and accurate information. And then I would say they need to find an agent who they feel comfortable with. Because like our policy is there's no stupid questions. You can ask me the same question 10 times. I will give you the answer 10 times. Because it is such a big decision.
Well, they'll also interpret it slightly differently as their lens gets sharper, which is good, right?
Absolutely.
It's on all ends. Smarter, at least 1% every day, right? Or
exactly.
A fraction of percent. And we things click differently. So I think repetition isn't a bad thing. So we're reinforcement.
Right. So communication is key. If a realtor comes to you and says, I'll email you later or whatever it is, no, I think it's got to be, what is your form of communication? How do you like to be communicated to? So someone who's accommodating to how you like to receive information.
There you go. That's a good question.
The less ambiguity there is, the better trust you can build with your client.
Nice. Love that. So, I mean, there's an immediate team and an extended team. There is the mortgage broker, the lawyer, the appraiser. Talk about, what are the best group dynamics that you want to see, especially the broker, someone like me, like what's important for you? Where do you see people sometimes, I don't know, like rush things or, again, pitfalls and good things with other people like lawyers and mortgage brokers? What comes up, stories, expectations that someone should have?
I feel like with us, it's always communication.
Yeah.
We are open with our clients like 24/7, basically. Some clients work shift work. So we have a group. We like to set up a group chat.
Oh, there you go.
That way.
WhatsApp?
Yeah, WhatsApp's really good. That way, either one of us is available.
It won't get missed.
We have our executive assistant Phoebe on there as well. So everyone is all hands on deck. So we see whatever goes through there. One of us.
Put the broker or the lawyer in there? Or?
It depends.
I think we phase it in. It depends. Sometimes we'll put the mortgage broker in there. I remember I did that more in 2021 when like you couldn't get these deals through fast enough. So things had to happen in real time.
Removal period.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's not bad practice. We do those as well.
Exactly.
Depending on the client, but usually it's appreciated for sure.
That's it. Yeah.
And just making sure that the broker's involved as well. Because I've come across cases or deals where the brokers were like, just gone, they said they're trying to get a hold of them. They're not working on the weekend. We have to put the offer in, and it's frustrating because here we are trying to help our clients, mutual clients, and they're not available. Like I'm getting voicemails from the bank. Voicemails,
it's banks and bank.
It's tough, but there are. I've come across a few brokers that work for the bank that do have the communication on the weekends, which is quite nice. But end of the day, it's about working with the right people that will facilitate things properly, on all ends of the deal.
Yeah, we certainly make it our business to get to know the team as well. So for example, if Steve and I are coming in and they have an established relationship with their own mortgage broker and this and that, we definitely make it our business to get in there and say, hey, how do we work together?
Alignment call.
That's it.
So if you're buying, you should be brokering your team to talk to each other.
Exactly.
Because then it's less you having to play broken telephone or things getting slept. But, of course, you will remind a buyer that you should get introduced. Of course, I do that as well. It's super key. Otherwise, if we're not an A team together, then
the client will suffer.
Exactly. Right. And it's so obvious, but sometimes it's easier said than done. Because if it's a weekend and we're all synced up, like that WhatsApp should be like dialed in, right? So obviously, there's an alignment call. Hey, when are your notifications turned on WhatsApp? Sometimes they're not, right? So there's a lot of stuff there. So that's good. I mean, I think we're very aligned. So we talked about like the dream team, everyone being together, working with families, facilitation there. We talked about the events, commercial real estate, areas that you're bullish on. And of course, we're talking about based off history, 2008, 2020, where are we at right now? So maybe as a last note, we can do all the predictions we want around tariffs and what that's going to do. In any tough time, just ask questions, be more curious. That's the silver lining always, is that people are a bit more curious. And things blow or things, usually it's scary at the beginning, like anything in life, but eventually if you're just more dialed in and more focused, then I think that's always a blessing in disguise. Right? Maybe to wrap up, last thoughts around what people should consider as they're looking at the market, honestly, 2025 spring onwards, and maybe some last notes on what gets you guys excited to be working with people, and maybe some general values that you have that people want to connect with you, right? So
sure.
I would say right now the biggest thing is to take that chance, get out there. Don't be scared to look. A lot of clients are in that transition of owning a home, but they've owned that home for 3-4 years, and now they're seeing that gap is a lot smaller now from a 3-bedroom or townhouse or even a detached home. So my recommendation is always to talk to your broker first. See how much you can approve for now based on the sale of your home. And just start looking at places, whether it be with one of us or on your own for open houses. That way they can get out there and see, there is inventory out there. Because a lot of misconceptions is that there's nothing available or you're scared you won't find anything. But if you're financially ready when it comes to your job security, any sort of savings for that next down payment, you should go for it. Because if you sit back on the sidelines, like we said before, you could miss that boat. And 2025 is, at least for us, is shaping out to be really busy for the spring. All the clients are taking our advice on looking out there, and once they see there's something out there, they're ready to list. And it's just that conversation to even get them down and say, well, if you were to sell, this is what the market would yield for you. And And it's just so many times where people are like, oh, I wish we listed sooner, or I wish we started looking sooner. And it's, you know, it's just, when it's too late, it's too late, right? One of those things where I wish I knew I could have bought more real estate back then.
Yeah.
But you just never know. Like,
you went for sneakers instead.
Well, yeah. But kids came in the way too.
Yeah.
But
Life happened.
Exactly. But it's one of those things where take a chance and make sure you have the right team to navigate you. And I feel like with us by your side, we could do that and make sure you don't miss any opportunities.
I think you hit a lot of, the only thing I would add is that, you know, with the uncertainty of what's going on this year, know what's kind of sensational news and then know what's real. So nothing is better than going to see a property in person. So absolutely getting your feet wet and going into those open houses and seeing properties, touch, feel yourself, because it's made to look really good in the media. It's made to look really good online. So that's one different thing. And the other thing would be to strategize and just make sure that if you're going to go for the move this year is to really talk to your power team and strategize what that looks like for you, because you don't, with the uncertainty is that you don't want to go in super careless and super blind, right? And so along with that is a lot of things that I'm doing for myself is just being really savvy with my expenses and my finances, knowing that the end game is, and the goal is real estate. Yeah, just to be smart about
tangible goal and the tax for it. I mean, that's the name of the argument. I just say, like, whether you're going to buy a place or not, you should know if you were to act tomorrow, what does that look like? I mean, from a finance standpoint, not to mention real estate perspective. And I do feel like, especially first-time buyers, of course, the whole thing is a boot camp to adult a little bit, to have those tough family conversations. I even just tell people, like, at least by being curious now and efficiently going through the process, you will likely be more equipped to just be a better, let's call it critical thinker, entrepreneur. So I think just the deep dive into finances, making trade-offs on a property standpoint, dealing with, your family members or loved ones to make joint decisions. Like a lot of this is an exercise around leveling up.
It really is.
Right? And I think it's really important. One thing is what we didn't talk about. We've been very left brain, so kind of like analytical, which is important because hey, step one, right now we've got to work. Well, let's zoom out. This is like a long journey, like maybe a 30-year mortgage journey, and of course beyond. You have a lot of families where like everyone uses you throughout the life cycle of their family, like parents and kids, and that's because they of course trust you. But part of that is they want trusted advisors by their side. They aren't just going to disappear magically after there's a closing. So you guys are huge on community. You've got lots of street festivals coming. I think people also just want to know they've got people that they want to be vouching for what you're doing. Like part of this is like who you work with is you're supporting people that are changing the city, being more involved in their community. You do a lot of like basketball, right, with certain parents at school. Talk about your extracurriculars and ways that you like to just build community. I think that honestly is a pretty important tiebreaker, especially for me as a professional. I even think some of the buyers as well. It's like, who do you want to be?
We could talk about this for hours. I think community is hugely important. In previous years, Steve and I do make it a point to do your client appreciation events. I think what we're trying to do is take it one step further, though, and how to make all of our universes come together, because we are one and the same at the end of the day. So many of our clients are small business owners. So many of our clients. So we do things that are meaningful to them. So whether that be organizing panels with like mentors and coaches and other business owners.
What does that look like?
So we had one here not too long ago with where our office is, Pavilion Co-work, is we had a Q&A session with all of the entrepreneurs here. So that was great. We've done in the past Breakfast with Santa, where we hire our own Santa and people can get their photos with them, not have to line up at the mall. Little things like that, to like really big block parties that I do with like some of our other business, or with our other business with Lee's. And that's just a really big, like, let's just get the community together. Cause it's hard. Like buying real estate and going through that process can be very stressful.
And emotional.
So it's really important for us, and this is kind of the ethos that we go off of. It's not that necessarily that work hard, play hard, but there is a reward and something more meaningful towards the end of it and giving back to our communities that way.
Super important. That's amazing.
And for me, it's just about being present, present for the people around you. For me, it's my boys, and my wife, of course, But it's just like, it's just being there for them, embracing their hobbies, their interests. They happen to be really into basketball. Been through a few different clubs, but it's just really being there for the community there as well. And just building that genuine relationship. It's not about being that salesperson or being that guy handing out business cards to everyone, because you want to build relationships that are organic, that come from somewhere good. You know, and for me to go out there and cheer for my boys and support them with dreams to hopefully pay for my wife and I's house down in the future, you know, like it's possible, you know, they're Asian, but they could find their break. But yeah, it's just getting out there and, like Celine said, with block parties, with our client appreciation, just generally showing that we care. And it's not just about the transaction, it's about the journey. It's always been my biggest thing, is being there for the whole journey, whether it be with your parents or with the kids down the line, right? You know, like, we're not your parents' realtor. We're there to help everyone with our expertise, with the team that we have, like brokers like yourself. And it's definitely something that we love doing and continue to love, just day in and day out. It's just us.
It is just us. It's like, we're human at the end of the day. Realtors aren't these like robots who like just drive fancy cars or whatever it is. No, you have to really humanize the experience at every step of the way. You know, and then obviously in the absence of that emotion and that portion of it is the data. So yeah, we're just trying to converge the two.
It's the left and the right brain coming together and just being able to really guide you guys out there and make that decision.
So well put. You guys are awesome. Thanks for your good energy and your insights. And that's what we have to lead people to get into your shoes and join this awesome marathon. You guys are awesome. Thanks again for jumping on.
Thanks for having us.
No, thank you. And thanks for tuning in too.